Alright folks, welcome to another edition of Technique Tuesday. This week I want to talk to you about a glazing technique. Most of you have begun glazing some of your projects, and it's time to start covering different ways you can use the glaze. So today I want to talk about ombre glazing, which means I want to fade two colors of glaze together, okay? So I've got my two colors. You could do this with more than two colors. You can do it with as many colors as you want. You have to make sure that the colors you choose are going to fade together nicely. I'm using turquoise green and sand, which is like a bluish green color and kind of a light gray color. If I were to use maybe red and green, you'll remember from drawing and general fine arts that red and green are opposites. So where they blend together in the middle of my piece, they're going to look like mud. Okay? Opposite colors blend together to make brown. So you want to make sure you're using two colors that are going to work nicely together. Now if I wanted to use red, white, and green, that white in the middle would help the two colors fade nicely without looking gross. So consider the colors you choose before you start working. Opposites on the color wheel, okay, complementary colors, they do not blend well together. So think about that while you're working. Okay, so for ombre glazing, you need your two colors, and you're going to need two paintbrushes, and you need your project, obviously. So what you're going to do is, open my two jars of glaze here. Okay. So in order to ombre glaze, it doesn't matter which one you start with. It's up to you. I'm going to start with sand. And I'm just going to start painting my project with sand, and I'm going to work my way up. Now when you're working, when you're doing ombre, you have to work kind of fast. You need to get a full coat over the entire project all in one sitting. And you need to work while the glaze is still wet because you're going to be blending the colors together. So I'm going to start with my sand, and now I'm going to switch with my second brush to my turquoise green. And I'm going to start working down toward that sand color. Okay, so I'm working from the top and the bottom at the same time. Alright, now where they're starting to come together, I'm going to go back to I have two brushes, one in each hand, and I've got to work the sand up into the turquoise, and the turquoise down into the sand. And you've got to do this while the two colors of glaze are still wet, so that they will blend together. If they're not wet, they will not blend. So, turquoise down into sand, sand up into turquoise. Okay, and I'm getting a beautiful fade from top to bottom. So I would just continue in that fashion all the way around the mug, and we'll see how it comes out. Okay, now that's one coat. I would continue to do this two more times or three more times around my mug to make sure it's nice and even. Everything should even out over the course of a couple of days. and you'll get this beautiful fade effect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more coats on this, and then it'll get fired and you guys will be able to see what it looks like all done.
Ombre can be simple and applied to any kind of object, smooth objects or those with texture. This is a beautiful example of ombre combined with texture. Don't feel limited to only 2 colors. You can combine 3 colors or even 4 or 5 colors. Ombre doesn't have to go from top to bottom. It can go from the inside to the outside with just a couple of colors, or the inside toward the outside with multiple colors. You can even divide your project up into sections and make your ombre go in different directions all over. Ombre can be combined with sgraffito, creating the ombre effect using underglaze, and then carving into it using the sgraffito tools. Lastly, don't be afraid to paint on top of your ombre. This blue to brown ombre has had trees painted at the bottom.